Well, hello everybody. I left a message on the community thing that what I wanted to talk about today was extending grace. This one is something I think I know a lot about because of the things I've gone through in my life. And I think about it a lot. There was a time when I belonged to I don't know if it was Facebook groups or on a Facebook site or even maybe a friend. But I was talking about some of the things that I have gone through with Greg, aka Baldy. And a woman had replied back to me that I needed to show my husband some grace. And this was only maybe within the last 5 years. I think this happened, actually, I think this did happen after I had gone into the psych ward. So I was pretty sensitive at that time, and I obviously was still very angry, knowing what was coming. So I took it harshly. I didn't take it in a helpful way. I took it in a very harsh way, like, what the heck are you saying, lady? I mean, I've been with this man since I was 15, so we're talking, actually right now we're talking 50 years of my life. And I don't think there's anybody more than me, maybe other than God, not even his parents, that have extended this man grace. So I took it offensively. I didn't take it as something to learn. But then obviously it stuck with me because to this day I still think about that, like, have I shown grace? And now that I'm older, some of my younger friends that I don't communicate with too often, but occasionally will talk about how they look at my life and they think that I've lived my life with such grace and that I handled my life with Greg with such grace. Now that I don't take offensively, I take it as, well, I take it humbly too, but I take it as, did I really do that? Because, I gotta take a drink. I look back at my marriage with him, and in the initial years, I didn't fight back. He just did whatever he wanted, and when things crumbled and fell apart, I helped pick up the pieces. I never really, said you shouldn't do this or you should do this or, you need to get a job with insurance. I would say things, but I didn't say them firmly. I didn't set boundaries. I just went about raising my kids and let him do whatever he did. So it took me a mighty long time in my life to realize that part of us being so financially devastated and losing our homes was also part my fault because I allowed it. But anyway, let's stick with grace. What is grace? Grace is basically, and I am going to be talking faith-wise, my faith on this, because it's my faith that I've stayed with him and other things too, and God is my main reason for surviving all that I've survived, and my number one priority in life is God. So, I try to live my life as God wants me to live my life. And then I looked at grace as, I look at myself. Every day I sin. Every day I fall short. My biggest complaint about myself, and maybe God doesn't care, and sometimes I feel like he really doesn't care, it's me. But maybe it's God also trying to direct me on how to improve. But anyway, I have a sailor's mouth, and I swear so much and so often. And so every day I'm going to God and apologizing for the same thing. Like, I just sit here and I'm like, I just can't believe this. It's like, can I do something new? Because I'm tired of coming to God for the same crap. But anyway, I go to him and I know and I trust that he is faithful to forgive me because he says he will. And again, it's a repeated, consistent, never-ending sin that I do. God never says to me, no, I've been forgiving you for, 60 plus years of your life. If you haven't figured out by now not to do these things, too bad. I'm not giving you forgiveness. Him going to the cross was grace. Dying for us and yet also, covering sin. That was grace. I mean, he gave his life. That's total 100% grace for us who didn't deserve it. He did it because he loved us. So I look at that as, I have to show grace to Greg. Now here's where I struggle, and I'm sure a lot of people struggle. Showing grace, forgiveness, whatever, does that mean that we should allow someone to repeatedly run over us? Like, another one of my favorite lines is, should I just go stand in the middle of the highway and let a semi run over me? I mean, I might as well. That's all I've ever been doing with my life. So I think that way. I'm tired of standing in the middle of a highway and just allowing people to run over me. No, it doesn't mean that at all. Grace and forgiveness is basically for ourselves, so we don't fester in anger or sadness, hurt. God doesn't want us suffering any more than we've already suffered. So extending grace or forgiveness is basically for us. And God also gives us ways out if we're living in situations that are totally against biblical principles, like in marriage. If you have a partner that is a repetitive, unfaithful, or abandons you, and we clearly have ways out. We can leave those relationships with no guilt on our end that we have not followed through with our commitments to hanging in there with marriage. In my case, I do believe that Greg abandoned his family financially, and I do believe that I had every right to walk and not carry any guilt. For whatever reasons, I just didn't do it. I stuck. And I think I kind of hit on that a little bit in my other videos. Mostly I wanted my family to stay together. I never wanted another father. I never wanted kids from anybody else. I didn't want another marriage. Even if he were to go before me, I don't see myself remarrying or anything. To me, it was like a one-time thing in my life, and that's just my makeup. It's not condemning anyone else's choices. It's just mine. So I think because of the way I felt, I was hell-bent on making this work. And I also wanted to teach my kids that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You don't run, you stay and you fight. And so those were my decisions, right or wrong. It's too late in life. I've done it. But it doesn't change the fact about extending grace. We have to extend grace. If I didn't extend grace to Greg, I literally believe I would have killed that man. I would have killed him. That's what landed me into the psych ward, is because I was going to kill him. And I do believe at that time, if I wasn't taken out of the house and put into the hospital, I very well may have. I had the plan. I knew everything I wanted to do. And when I was done with him, I was going to take care of myself too. I broke. And so that was one thing I worked on when I was in the hospital is, once again, I needed to extend grace. And at that time, probably the biggest amount of grace I ever had to give. I've given that man grace since I dated him, actually, because he was doing things that he should have never been doing while we were dating. So I feel like all I've done is extend grace. For my dad molesting me, I've extended grace. For my mom not protecting me and not loving me and not being there for me, I've extended grace. I've forgiven them. I've let it go. I don't let it fester in me. There's times, sure, things will come up and I get triggered and I get hurt or angry. They robbed me of my childhood, plain and simple. They robbed me of my childhood. They robbed me of a lot of things. My dad robbed me of, what it's like to truly be loved by a man and experience sex in the way God meant it to be. I was robbed of a lot of things. I was robbed of a lot of things with Greg. You look back at my life, I could really carry some anger that I take to my grave. There's just things like my prom. My prom was a disaster. He was so drunk, he passed out at the prom, and I was there alone. A concert that meant a lot to me that he bought tickets to and took me to, he got so drunk and passed out. This was like a normal part of my life with Greg while we were dating. And so, I could just carry this anger and hurt. And just, I could be one angry, miserable woman. And I've chosen to not be that. It's like 90-something degrees here. I got the thirsties. But anyway, I learned that when you're hurt, if you also are angry, you don't move forward. You stay stuck. You just stay miserable. You cry. You're not happy. You're not, you're just basically existing. You're not living. And there's a difference between existing and living, and I want to live. Same thing with my cancer. When I was diagnosed and told I was going to die, after I go through the shock and all the things and getting stable with pain and all that, my attitude right away shifted to, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die happy, doing what I love the best I can. When I feel good, I'm going to get out there and do stuff. I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to travel if I can. I'm going to, even if it's taking a ride to a beach and enjoying a wave, I'm going to do these things. I'm not going to sit here and cry about my cancer and poor me. And like I said, I've had bad days. I've had debilitating days where I've been bedridden. I've had all of that. And yeah, so you have to exclude those days, because on those days, no matter what, you're not going to be happy. You're miserable. You're in pain. But overall, my focus in my life has always been to be content, to be happy, also to accept that no one's life is pure joy, that a lot of the suffering and things that happen to us are also teachers. We're taught. And, like I look at me and all the things I've been through as a child, as a wife, as a friend, as a believer, they've all taught me something, and they've brought me to the woman that I am. And I say this humbly. I don't say this snobbily. I like the woman that I am. I don't like a lot of the way people are today. I think there's too many of us that we call ourselves believers, and our actions are the farthest thing from it. I'd like to talk about that on another topic too, about where are the believers today? Where are they in these tumultuous times, economically and stuff? We all know that there's still many people out there that are very well off and doing well. Where are they? Especially the believers, more so the believers. Where are they? Whole nother topic. I'm rambling. I do this too much. So let's get back to grace. But I would like to talk about that soon. And I also want to talk about the sound of freedom. So the grace thing, it's kind of like you got to look at this too as your relationship with your children. No matter how many times your child hurts you, says things or does things or fails, you never stop loving them. You are able to forgive what they've said or done. It's like instant. It's just gone because of your love for them. It's just there. It's like you don't sit and dwell on it. You might dwell on it for a few minutes after your child says, I don't love you, I'll never love you again, I hate you, whatever. But it's quickly forgotten. So apply that to the same thing as Christ's relationship with us. We know when we sin, it's gone. We ask for forgiveness, it's gone, it's out of his mind. We don't have to sit here and feel bad because we failed again. And so this extending grace thing, it is a very tough one for me, because like I said with Greg, it's been a repetitive thing since I've met him. And it is the hardest thing. This last episode was the hardest for me ever. And I think it's been 5 years, and I just now am getting to a point where I don't throw things in his face every day on the daily, because my anger has subsided, my sadness, my frustrations, everything that goes along with what he did. Because what he did, initially, okay, it's over. We moved, we get out in a tiny house, and life settles in, and now it's 5 years later. And there are times, that I sit here and I think if he didn't do what he did, I'd be in a regular home, I'd have more space, and some of the things that I feel I need. And instead I'm in this small 400 square foot space, and I miss decorating, I miss having a craft room, and I miss some things. I come out of it real quick, because if I don't, the anger will fester, and I'll be angry and sad all over again, and I can't do that. Right now, this is where I'm at. This is what God has given me. I'm safe. It's beautiful. It's affordable for us. It gives me a life where I can go do what I want. Like I can go eat if I want. If I want to get myself a little shirt, I can do that. So I I have to focus on the positives. And plus it allows me to keep extending the grace. And I will, and I'll continue it. But I also want to make it clear that, you know, for anyone else like who lives in a situation like me where you have a partner that just won't knock it off for whatever reasons, if you have biblical reasons to end that relationship and for your own mental health or health, if you have to, do what you feel is best for you. I've made a decision if he does anything again that jeopardizes my safety, and I'm talking about not my physical safety, but my mental health, you know, my ability to have a roof over my head, food on my table, that will be it. I won't go through anything else with him. Yes, I will extend grace. Yes, I will forgive. But I won't put myself in front of a moving freight train again. I'm at the end of my life and I just can't. I mean, there's no more picking up the pieces for me. I can't work. I can't produce an income. I can't climb my way out of this. So I've got protective measures in place. So far they've worked. It's not like I'm sitting here with blinders on. I know the things I have to protect, and those are taken care of. Hopefully they remain so. That's a whole nother topic. I'm not going to go there. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about extending grace. If any of you have been in a position in your life, whether it's through a spouse, parents, children, friends, you know, what have you done? How do you extend grace? What do you think about it? Has it hurt you? Has it helped you? Maybe you don't even believe in it. Do you think that we have to? I believe that we have to. Like I said, I can't go to God and ask for forgiveness for the things that I do and expect it and want it and need it and then not be capable of giving it myself. I have to give it. And I have to live a life of peace and tranquility. And the only way I believe you're going to do that is to let go, forgive, but also protect. And those are such hard things to do because a lot of people think forgiving just means that you forgive that person and then you just let them go back to doing whatever they were doing. And absolutely no, I'm not saying that. You know, like if you live with a man or a woman that's unfaithful and it's consistent, and they don't stop and they cry and they say they love you, blah, 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 but then they go right back to it. Yes, I forgive you. But I will no longer live with you. I will no longer be in love with you. I will no longer have this relationship. You can't live like that. God doesn't expect you to. If you live with a partner that beats you, you know, if you live with a partner that does put you in financial jeopardy time and time again to the point where you will end up homeless, you have biblical reasons to get out. But you also have biblical reasons that you have to forgive them and show that grace. And basically grace is forgiveness. It's a kindness. It's required. And it gives us the freedom to move forward and to move on and to have a happy, peaceful life. And that's what's most important. And that's what's most important to me is that despite all these things that I've gone through and that's been done to me is I want a peaceful, happy life. The best that I can have. And you know, a lot of people will look at me and say, you're nuts for staying with him. Look at where you're living. Look at how you're living. And I've had a couple comments said to me that, you know, about that. I had one no longer a relative by paper say to me that I don't want to end up like you. And it stung when she first said it. But then after I thought about it and prayed about it, I thought, wait a minute. You don't want to end up like me? And then I thought about my life. And I thought, my life isn't bad. I like my life. I live in a beautiful little tiny home. I'm able to get around this tiny home without any handicap things, which is important to me because I'm one, like when I was in the other house, I had to use a walker to wheel around that house. I couldn't walk because it was just too big, and that was only 1,100 square feet. But I had to use, you know, I had to use things to navigate that house. Here, I don't have to use anything, so I feel normal, if that makes sense, which to me as a handicapped person is important. To a lot of handicapped person, it might not be. To each his own. I'm just saying for me, I like that. I get around here and I don't even have to use a cane. It's brand new. It's beautiful. It's affordable. Where I live in this resort is beautiful. I have everything I could want and need, and I don't have to pay for it, and I don't have to keep it up. You know, I've got access to a beautiful pool. I don't have to maintain it. I've got access to a pond if I want to go float around. I don't have to maintain it. I've got a golf cart. I can ride around the park, and I've got a nice golf cart. My site is probably one of the nicest sites in this park, and there's over 500, 600 sites. And I do believe our site is probably one of the top sites as far as size and beauty. And so what's not to like about my life? You wouldn't want to end up here? And then in the winter, I've gone to Texas twice, and I've gone on cruises, and more than likely this winter I'll be gone again. That's not a life to be sad about. That's not a life to poo-poo. It's just not. You know, I could be in a bigger house. Yeah, I could be. And then I'd have no life. If I want to go out to eat and do those things, I wouldn't be able to do it. And I would rather stay here and do those things, because those are the things that keep me going, especially with my cancer. You know, if I want to go to eat today, I can go. I've got $5, $10, whatever I need to go to McDonald's or whatever. If I want to go have lunch somewhere, I can do that. If we were to move to a different place that we might be able to afford, it would also mean that I would have to give up all those other things, and I don't want to do that. For us, it is choice, a matter of haves and have-nots, and so that's okay. I'm not going to beat Greg down for that. Again, that would be extending grace to him, because no matter where we landed is perfectly fine. And so I believe God steps in and takes care of us when we do what he wants us to do. Like, I believe that I've been so well covered and taken care of by God because I follow him and I obey him, and I extend the grace where it's needed. And like I said, grace isn't ignorant of tolerating things that we shouldn't tolerate. Those are totally separate things. I wouldn't tolerate any more crap from him. You know, little things, but I'm talking about life-altering things won't be tolerated, and I won't live like that anymore. And sometimes I do get mad at myself, like, why did I wait till I'm 60 to truly understand that? Because if I would have truly felt this way in my 40s, the outcome would be different. I would not be married to him. I would not be. No. I would not go through what I went through this many times. Another topic. But anyway, that's today's topic. Grace. I lost my train of thought. I hate this. Extend the grace. You have to extend the grace because you need the grace. You need it. You need it from not just God, but you're going to need it from your children. You're going to need it from friends. You're going to need it from your spouse. You may need it from your workplace. You're going to need grace yourself. So remember that. You have to extend it because you're going to need it. And you can't expect to be given something when you're not giving it. So I'll end this on that. You know, please share your thoughts with me on this. Like I said, if you've had to extend it, if you've needed it, if you've wanted it, if you need it now, what do you think about it? Of course, you don't have to share personal details, but it's just to get us thinking about life. And then also, please remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am trying to grow this thing. I have been at a stall for like a little over 2 weeks now, and I need to go up, up, up. So please like, share, subscribe, and leave comments. I appreciate them more than you ever know. I am in my little tiny house probably 90% of every day, so this is what I do. I like to read. I don't watch TV, so I do check, you know, the YouTubes and the channels that I belong to for things that I'm interested in, which is mostly tiny house living and sometimes about the economic status. But anyway, again, like, subscribe, have a great week, and if you have any ideas or things else that you'd like to talk about, please leave them in the comments. And I will see you soon, and have a great few days.